Hi, this is Zoe, and I'm here to tell you about Craft Lab, which is an online course for writers that I'm teaching from next month at London Lit Lab. This is a course that involves reading, repeated reading, and discussion as a group. And it's really about learning critical reading skills and how to read deeply as a writer in order to unpack how prose really works, looking under the hood, as it were, but digging much deeper than we usually can. It's unusual in that we read the same two short stories together over the course of 5 weeks, meeting 5 times, each meeting focusing on a specific aspect of craft and technique that these two writers have used. So we work our way through setting, character, structure, language, and metaphor, the big beast at the end. And they are in that order for a reason, which is because meaning and understanding of how these stories work intends to unfold as we run through the readings. Why only two stories, you might be asking? Why not lots, so that we can learn the techniques of lots of different writers by looking at them together? I have been doing that for many years in groups, creative writing groups where we're critically reading each other's work, but also short story reading groups. In each instance, we might read a story once or twice before we discuss. And for sure, in a group, we can find things we hadn't noticed in those stories or discuss things from different angles. But after a third or a fourth or a fifth reading, you're really able to see the wood for the trees, as it were. And this really matters if you're a writer yourself, because by starting to see the creative decisions that these writers have made, why they've done them, whether you like them or not, you can start to understand how to increase your control over your own prose. And this gives you a huge amount of power as a writer. So for this course, I've chosen stories by Catherine Mansfield and Sarah Hall, who I consider to have huge amounts of control and power. They're mistresses of the short story form, but also in revising and finessing until their stories are as tight as they can be, and everything is in there for a reason. So the more we unpack, the more questions we can ask and the more questions we can answer about exactly how they achieve the effects that they do. So how do we do that? We're getting together every week to talk, but beforehand, for you to read the stories again, I will have sent you extensive guided reading notes telling you what to look out for in the theme of that particular week's discussion. So setting or metaphor or whatever it may be, as well as those guidance notes for your reading. There are also notes on how you might apply the particular techniques that we're looking at that week to your own work in progress, should that be something that you want to try. Also prompts for trying a new piece of writing using these techniques, if it's not something that you want to apply to your own work. It's also really useful if you discover these writers do things that you don't particularly like. Looking out for things and understanding why we don't like what a piece of writing is doing or the effect it has is really useful for deciding or kind of figuring out what we want our own writing to do, what techniques we want to use and which ones don't really work on us. So very useful from that point of view. But I would also say, if you're a writer who wants to get better at self-editing or get into it at all, it's an incredibly difficult thing to do, to look at your own work critically from a distance and try to figure out how to improve it. By repeatedly looking at a couple of stories so that you get to know them really well, like, almost as well as you might know your own work, and being able to figure out which questions to ask of the text and how to find the answers, you can take those questions away with you and apply them to your own work as well, and get better at that finessing, figure out what it is that you might need to do to improve your own work. I also hope that whether or not you love or hate the writers who we might be reading together, and it might be that you hate them, and that would be quite useful, you will go away with critical reading skills that you can then apply to anything that you're reading in order to learn from it. And this is something that means, I think, that you can keep learning about the craft of writing for as long as you are writing and reading. There's always something new to learn out there from another author. And taking these reading skills with you means you never have to stop. And as you change as a writer, you can look out for things that you might want to experiment with in the future. So That's my plan and my hopes for the course. It would be lovely to have you on it. We had a fantastic time last time I ran this and discovered all sorts of amazing things that even I had not seen in those stories. If you'd like to book, have a look on the London Lit Lab website or on our Substack, The Writing Laboratory, where you can also find a discount code for subscribers. And if you'd like to pay by installments, just email us or contact us via the website and you can do that. I would love to see you on the course. In the meantime, happy writing.